Yes, so we are happy to share a presentation with Jean. So we are from RTE, and we'll present you all the work carried out during module could help us RTE for our engineering, but also to assess the environmental impact. First, we have a first slide to present RTE in case some people do not know. So RTE is the French transmission operator. So we have the responsibility to connect all offshore wind farms, among other responsibilities, plus to connect all offshore wind farms to the grid. So for the one offshore Dunkirk, we'll have to build an offshore substation around 2 times 24 kilometers of cable, and also an onshore substation. To give you a bit the timeline, so works onshore and offshore works should be between next year and 2028 for commissioning of the wind farm in 2028, 2029. So the wind farm will be approx 600 megawatt. So now let's focus on engineering and which outputs from module could help us for our engineering. So if we look at the corridor area, so where we'll have our links. So first, the work carried out by Nicolas Michelet for work package number 3 could help us to refine the method to define the burial depth along the corridor. So amplitude of the dunes is important parameter with other parameters such as shipping and so on. But he implemented a method from another other work for this project, but something that we'll investigate and we could apply in future projects also. Then he also focused on the all the dune. So after dredging, there will form let's say a small artificial dune, and how much time will it take to refill the trench? And then it's quite important for us because it needs to be sufficiently important this time for us to install the cable, but not too important because once the cable is installed, we need the cable to be protected by the seabed. So it's quite important to have a better understanding of this process. Then if we focus on the thermal design, so there was a working package focusing on the impact of marine dunes on thermal design. So from now on, until now, we have let's say a conservative approach within RT is to, if the maximum amplitude is 3 or 4 meters, we'll add 3 or 4 meters as a burial depth to make our thermal design, but it's quite conservative, and the searchers from this work package are developing a method to be more, let's say, more precise, and we probably will help us to have a cooler temperature on the conductor. Then if we focus on the offshore substation area, so there is, let's say, ongoing work from Nicolas trying to look at the impact of the offshore substation of the surrounding marine dunes, especially also of the rock berms that we'll install. And first results show that we could have like a scoring at the interface at the end of the rock berms. Like we can see in the picture, it's quite important because we need to know it quite closely in order to avoid a free span in this area. So it's something really interesting. And also the work from Noémie Durand, where she looked at several multiple wind turbines, monopiles, and its impact on the surrounding dunes. It's important for us because we wanted to know what will be the impact on the marine dunes that could further cross the corridor or the offshore substation. Will the amplitude be changed? Crest line, when will it reach offshore substation, and so on. So it's some first outputs from Noémie Durand are quite interesting for us also. And if we look at the future, so what could be further done to help us, let's say, so work package number 2, as Alban presented, it's really a small and short scale, and now it will be interesting to have a middle scale, so between the work done by Alban and the work done by Nicolas and Noémie, for instance, to simulate scoring for more complex and monopile, for instance, the jacket of an offshore substation. Then also the simulations that have been were run. The period was maximum, let's say, 1 or 2 years. So it would be interesting for us to have simulating periods longer than this, for instance, to simulate more extreme events or things like this. Also, some works were carried out in channels, some experiments. So first results are interesting, but needs further investigations and could help for validation of the middle scale simulations that could be implemented, and also regarding thermal design. So for the moment, it's permanent simulations that are performed, but maybe in the future, if some transient simulation are performed to take into account some dune migration, it will be quite interesting for us. So now we'll let end to Jean to present the environmental impacts.
Yes, thank you, Stéphane. So I'm also working for RTE and more on the environmental aspects, marine environment. So just as an introduction, if we want to tackle both the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis, it's important that the development of offshore renewable energy and grid is done in a nature-friendly way. And for that, first, and this is typical in an environmental impact assessment, we really need to understand the ecology of where we are doing our works and where we will implement our infrastructure. And in particularly here for marine dune, which is quite a particular ecosystem. Second, when we know the ecology, we can evaluate. It's important to evaluate the impacts based on the ecology, and in the end, this evaluation of impact will lead to adopt site-specific measures to mitigate this impact and have more nature-friendly infrastructures. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. First, on this first topic, understand ecology, that was mainly done by the previous project mentioned previously, where we learned that well, the important role of marine dunes as a nursery and also for foraging of many species of the fish and birds. We also learned, like Nolwenn said just before, that the links between geomorphology and ecology. That, for example, we don't have the same species composition on the top of the dune and on the hollows. And also another important thing is that we found out that the benthic organisms are quite adapted to constant sediment movements. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then this, in order to evaluate the potential impacts, the project modules allowed us to really improve knowledge on how to predict the effects of infrastructures and also cabling works on the geomorphology of marine dunes, and also how it will evolve with time, and also how to predict the distribution of heat generated by cables in the sediments around those caves, which could have effects on the benthic communities, the living organisms in the sediments. So together with in understanding with ecology, this is valuable inputs for future environmental impact assessments to assess the site-specific environmental impacts. And also that the project, especially with the workshop organized by Norwen, helped us identify further research, which could further improve our knowledge. Okay, and then finally, regarding site-specific mitigation measures, of course, this is done case by case in the frame of in environmental impact assessments. But as I said before, like the knowledge from dunes and modules is relevant because these mitigation measures are designed based on the outcome of impact assessment. And just as an example, so two examples of mitigation measures taken within the frame of the Dunkirk offshore wind farm project and its grid connection. So we have scour protection that is planned to be put around the piles of wind turbines and of the offshore substation. Objective of this measure is to prevent the sedimentary suspension and limits subsequently the impact on the benthic habitats. And also we plan to replace during excavation of sediments, like dredging for cable installation. It is planned that the sediments will be either placed back into trench or placed nearby the trench, not so far, so that the overall volume of sediment is not lost in the area, and we don't take the risks to have like less dunes or something like this. So it reduces the effect of cable trenching on the morphology of dunes, and it helps to maintain the existing habitats. That's all for me. Thank you. And oh yeah, I just wanted to say, like, just the last word, that this kind of research and development projects are done in the long run, and it's very beneficial. We find it very beneficial to create a community of actors on a specific subject, and it helps for general improvement of knowledge and sharing of knowledge on all this. Thank you.
Thanks.